Perhaps later or tomorrow, she added.
No, never.
Eva's fury was muffled by the pillow.
Get out of here! Go away!
Shh. Patty tried to soothe.
I said, go away!
Afraid of the mounting hysteria, knowing what it would do to her sister's wounds as well as her mind, Patty obediently backed away. Outside in the corridor, she took the baby from the nurse and held him close to her face, inhaling the intoxicating scent of him.
I'm sorry,
she whispered brokenly, to him, not the nurse.
I wish there was something I could do, but there isn't.
It'll change, the nurse assured her. With all her heart, Patty yearned to believe that, because she never wanted to let go of this tender little soul, not ever. He was her nephew, a living, breathing part of her, and she could already feel him burying himself deeply in her heart. His mother would love him too, she reminded herself, given time. She hadn't meant what she'd said, that she didn't want him and never would, because Eva wasn't cold-hearted and selfish, much less cruel or vindictive. This was only a temporary change in her character, brought on by shock and post-traumatic stress. 4 months wasn't nearly long enough to get over what she'd been through, so Patty must be patient and try to make the right decisions for her, for them all, especially this dear little boy. Knowing what they were facing, how could she possibly fathom what the right decisions should be?
Patty?
A voice said behind her. She turned to find the detective in charge of Eva's case coming towards her. He'd visited often during these past few months, had actually come to feel like a friend, even a saviour in some ways. As he drew closer, she felt embarrassment warming her cheeks. The last time she'd seen him, she'd broken down, spilling out her emotions as though they had no right to exist, and he'd been so kind, so sensitive. He hadn't even backed away when she'd confessed her biggest fear. Lowering his eyes from hers, he looked at the sleeping baby and put a finger to its cheek.
Are you all right?
He asked quietly. Knowing what he was referring to, what he was waiting for her to tell him, Patty tried to summon a smile of reassurance, but it wouldn't come. She should never have told him. He wasn't a relative. He shouldn't be made to feel responsible or as though he had to carry any more burdens for her family. He looked up at her and held on to her gaze in a way that made her almost fearful of letting go. Have you heard? He asked. She nodded and felt herself starting to fall apart. Waving to a nurse, he waited until she'd taken the baby, then easing an arm through Patty's, he led her to a chair. Patty didn't want to talk. She didn't have the courage to repeat what she'd been told that morning. So she simply watched the nurse walking away, listening to the soles of her shoes squealing quietly, following the rhythmic sway of her hips, while trying not to think of herself or anyone else, just that dear little baby, and the fear that she might not live to see him again. Chapter 1. Eva Montgomery didn't want to believe her eyes. The sheer unexpectedness of it was making her lightheaded. In the space of mere seconds, she'd felt so many emotions struggling for recognition that she could hardly identify one. Then anger swooped in from the wings, clearing the muddle, with outrage barking at its heels. Why had no one told her about this? Going back to the beginning of the article, she started to read it again, but found herself unable to focus on the words. It didn't matter. She already knew what it said. How could she not, when it was exposing practically every triumphant tragedy of her life? From the photographs laid out amongst the paragraphs like colourful pieces of a jigsaw, she could be in no doubt that someone had not only trawled the archives, but had been watching her for at least a month, stealing secret moments of her day, her whereabouts, even her pets, to splash across this colour supplement and help answer the headline question, "Where are they now?" It wasn't as if she'd been hiding for the past 16 years. However, since her life had been shattered in the most horrific way, she'd chosen to shun the limelight and had no wish to do otherwise. True, she'd been tracked down before, once by a producer who'd wanted her to judge a modelling talent show, and several magazines.